Did you communicate with your family and friends back home?
Yes and no. Now, we weren't allowed, when we left Seattle, we weren't allowed to make a phone call or write letters. And, well, we didn't know where we were going. We didn't know until we got there where we were going. Very highly secretive
Mm.
uh, at that time, moving troops so that the enemy wouldn't know what was going on. So we communicated by letter, but my mother still never knew where I was because I couldn't tell her in the letter, because the letters you wrote were were read before they left the island by the officers. You wrote the letter, turned it in, and then they would, if there was any information in that letter, but they would eliminate it.
Okay. Alright, so that answers two of them. What are, no. All those ones, yeah, alright. Did you ever sleep outdoors?
On the way over on the ship, I never slept. One time I was down below. Now, we when we got to Hawaii or Pearl Harbor, we joined up with a convoy there, and then went on the rest of the way to Saipan or Tinian in this convoy. And so we put these lifesaver vests on, and we were not allowed to take that lifesaver vest off at any time because they had guys up here in the high part of the ship and they looking, watching us. One time I took it off, and right away the guy on the loudspeaker told me, "Sailor, get that life vest back on." So, in trying to answer your question, I know I go a long ways around, but out of Pearl Harbor, a couple of days out, one evening, why, and we had escorts, destroyer escorts, all around the convoy. Why, we got a warning that everybody, the submarine, the enemy submarine, so everybody had to go down below deck. Well, they had these hammocks all stretched out, if that's what you want to call them, down there, and they were about that close together. So I never could sleep in with somebody right that uh, close to me. So we were down there. I stayed down there under a latrine. Uh, Sat down there till they get the all clear, and then went back up on top. And that's the only time in those 30 days that I was not up on top of that ship, up on deck. Now, I'm telling you, it was so beautiful out there, especially after we got past Hawaii. That sleep out there under the stars, and that water was just as smooth as the top of this table. And I'll never forget those nights out there on that ship.
Uh, what did you get to eat?
You know, that's hard to answer. Now, we had a lot of spam,
Spam.
yeah, and we couldn't really complain about the food. You know, it was eatable and nourishable, but I can't remember what we had. Even on the island when we were over there, we had good cooks, and we never complained about when we got through eating. Oh, that was awful. You know, it we had good living conditions. Once they took us up on the island, we lived in tents till we got all the Quonset huts and everything built. Then we just had nice quarters and nice places to live. You slept in a cot, on a cot, in a big barracks along with a whole bunch of other guys. You know, you didn't have your individual rooms, but
Okay. Uh, was there ever a shortage of supplies?
no,
No.
no.
Um, my great grandfather was in the Navy on the ship, and he said that he started smoking them because it was a thing to do. Would you agree?
What did your grandfather say?
He started smoking when he was in the Navy because it's just what the things that they were doing. Was that just the thing that they did?
Well, I'm not. I can't, yes, I smoked, but I don't think it was for that reason. Uh, I can't remember whether I smoked or not. I did for a year after I got out of the Navy. I know I did, but I can't remember whether I was smoking then or not. But in 1960, why I quit smoking. Period. That's the reason I'm 91 years old today.
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps anyway.
Mm-hmm. What did you do on your time off? Oh wait, you already answered that. You said that you went down to.
Well, we had beaches that we could go to there on Tinian, but the beaches were nice, but out in the water underneath, just right at the edge of the water, there was coral reefs, and they were very sharp. And so you can't really say that we enjoyed going to the beach. But that's about all we had to do, was either working in the daytime, doing what we're assigned to do, or we would go to these drive-in movie or drive-in theater, so to speak, uh, almost every night.
All right, you already said that. Any memorable stories?
Well, I've kind of told you, more. Now, the only thing I might add to that is after the island had been secured for about 4 or 5 months, they found three Japanese soldiers back up in the hills, and they hadn't killed or had escaped the Americans, and they brought them in to our hospital, and they were there for 3 days because they were undernourished. They didn't have anything to eat, but you think of the Japanese people as being small people, but these guys were big. They were big and scary, and we were glad when they MPs come and moved them. We're glad to get them out of there because they just soon kill you as look at you.
Were you injured?
No.
No. Did you receive any medals or things like that?
Just for being overseas. No medals. It was just a little badge, a little narrow thing that you pinned on your lapel.
Did you stay in contact with any of the people you met there?
Yes, just one. This man became good. We became good friends, but he passed away a few years ago. He lived over in San Marcos. Now, when I got back to the States, before way back here in the first part of the story, when I was up in Mare Island, I was there in March and April, and it was nice. Oh, the sun was so nice and warm, but back in Iowa, they were still having winter. And we had winters back there that you would get snowed in on the farm and you couldn't get out. And we went to country school. We would walk a half a mile from where we lived to the country school. And you had winters back there that were winter. So I made up, and it was so warm and nice up there. I was running around in my shorts at the hospital that I made up my mind, if I get out of this alive, I'm going to live in California. So in January of 1946, I arrived back in San Diego, down here at Broadway, on a big aircraft carrier. That's how we came home from Saipan, was on a big aircraft carrier. And then I went on up to Long Beach, stayed on the ship. I didn't get off the day we got there, and then the next day we went to Long Beach, and then I got discharged in Long Beach. So from Long Beach, I got a ride back to Kansas City or back to Iowa, bought a car and spent a couple of weeks there, and then come back to California. And I've been here ever since.
Um, What was your occupation after the war ended and you left the military?
Well, I've done a lot of things, young man. But I guess you could say my main occupation was a 18-wheeler driver.
Mm.
I like to drive,
Oh.
and I drove for the society for 5 years when we had a society truck. Now you think of a truck, but I'm talking about the tractor that pulled the trailers. And we used to, when we still fed the people, we used to haul the food out of El Paso and into Dallas and then come back to El Paso and load for LA or for Oakland, Fremont. And then we hauled the literature, the society, all the literature we used to get. Now, you were very, very young when they stopped doing this. But all the literature that you get from the literature counter, not the Watchtower and Awake, but the literature counter, all that was made in Brooklyn, loaded onto big long trailers, taken to the train depot back there, and they would lift this trailer off of the wheels, what you call the running gears, and stack them too high on the train. The train would end up in Long Beach. My dispatcher would give me a name, brand name of that trailer. All kinds of different companies have those trailers for imports and exports. And then we would go over there and with the society tractor and find that trailers. It would be 3 to 4 trailers a month that we would take and deliver to West Hollywood, West LA. That was known as the Bob Hope Theater. That was a big assembly hall. Bakersfield Assembly Hall, Norco Assembly Hall, and Escondido Assembly Hall. And we would deliver all this literature to these assembly halls every month with the society tractor. Now, did I get off the hidden?
What message would you like to leave to future generations who might see this interview?
Don't wait. Don't wait to become a Jehovah's Witness. Do it now. Learn. Become part of Jehovah's earthly organization and jump right in and do whatever you're asked to do.
Well, that's the. Well, actually, no. Wait, yeah. That's the last of my questions. Well, thank you for your time.